Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, thank you very much for the opportunity, for the organizers, and thank you very much, dear friends who have joined us at this conference. Let me first mention the representatives of the UGL, whom I would like to welcome wholeheartedly. The Spanish, Albanian and English organizations have also joined us here today, but also we have many trade unions here in Hungary who share our values, and let me also greet their representatives here. This is the National Trade Union. A few years ago, the European Union leading institutions just realized that the peoples of Europe somehow turned their back to the EU, and thus they launched a special series of programs whereby they wanted to re-attract people, and this even today is part of this program series. I would also like to mention the name of Károly Lóránt, economist, who is also here today. He has been trying as a civilian person, as a civic person, for years to be able to inform the European societies and rank-and-file people about the real structure of the European Union, the aim and objective of this hierarchy that is in the background of the slogans. A few years ago, Mr. Lóránt said that nobody should misunderstand the regime, the more than 1,000 committees within the European Commission all serve or comprise of experts who are financed by large-scale companies and the world of business to represent their interests in the EU. And we should understand the reality, and if we are able to discuss and understand these processes here today, I think it's a great step forward. Of course, other organizations also try to formulate demands in the interests of workers. The European Trade Union Confederation, which is the largest interest representation trade union in the European Union, of course, has members with Christian social background, but the majority of the member organizations are liberal trade unions. We are a member of ETUC, and but somehow we are not really an organic part of them. Sometimes we try to open debates, and sometimes we raise our voice when they criticize Hungary, when they condemn Hungary, when they say there is no free press or media in Hungary. And it's quite astonishing that although they always say that Hungary and the government of Hungary does not respect democracy, they simply ignore the fact that the present government of Hungary was elected with a two-thirds majority 4 years ago. They criticize us because we are anti-democratic, fascist, racist, whatever. So I think we should somehow understand and interpret democracy, and it's very difficult somehow to convey our interpretation in these liberal organizations. Workers' councils and Christian social trade unions should somehow formulate their own vision about the future of Europe as far as workers and employees are concerned. So let me now just speak about a few points about the 10 proposals that are on the agenda of this public debate launched by the EU institutions. I would like to speak only about 4 points that might be the starting point of our conference. So we would like to focus on the Christian social doctrine of the society at the heart of the conference, which is key to the social and economic development of Europe. Great transparency in the functioning of the EU, in the spirit of a Europe of nations. A renewed strengthening of worker and civic participation in the functioning of the institutions. So, as I have already mentioned, I would only like to highlight only 4 points. The first one being climate change and environment. Our Polish friend in his presentation mentioned a few examples when factories, jobs were closed down in the spirit of climate protection. So a just transition is needed. The EU should develop policies to ensure that jobs are maintained and workers' health and safety is guaranteed. There is a need for active labor market policies and training and retraining of workers to prevent job losses. The second important area is health care. It is a well-known fact that Central European, Eastern European males' life expectancy is 10 years, more than 10 years shorter than that of a Western European male. So I think the EU should strive at equal access to affordable, accessible, high-quality public services, especially health care. But it is equally important that there are equally important areas, for example, social care, education, public transport, energy, water, sanitation, internet access, and access to good public administration. The third area, which is also very important, social justice and jobs. A renewed social contract is required for fair development and a more inclusive and sustainable society, at the heart of which must be the improvement of the living and working conditions and a better equality between women and men. Recovery must be based on redistribution, upward convergence, quality work, increased investment in public services and social protection, including to the right to decent pensions in all sectors. Decent recovery must also be based on the necessary foundation of workers' rights, as well as trade union rights, stronger collective bargaining, and right to democracy at work. And this must be done with an approach that Pope Leo XIII set out in his Rerum Novarum on the indispensable role of labor and capital, the need for their cooperation, class struggles. I think is that end formulated by the liberal left-wing ideologists. We are on the firm belief that modern societies, in modern societies, the so-called cooperative cooperation should be developed that are based on Christian social values. We also signed an agreement with the Italian trade union partner that, of course, workers' interests should be represented, but not by jeopardizing the interests of the capitalist owners. and both parties' interests should be respected, and that's clearly expressed in Rerum Novarum, in the encyclica of Pope Leo XIII, a mutual respect of the other party's interests, and full account should also be taken of the specific situation of mobile, cross-border and frontier workers. The EU must promote and protect the right to free movement of workers, and also the interests and rights of workers in Eastern Europe who exercise this right. There is a need for a new economic model and governance that is based not only on GDP growth, but on an inclusive and fair EU-wide well-being of the people, to ensure that social justice and economic justice go hand in hand, and reform of the EU economic governance is also needed, with the people's well-being as the goal of economic policies. The implementation of the European Pillar of Social Rights must lead to a Christian social market economy which serves full employment and social progress. The last point of our proposals is digital transition. That should also be fair, with respect for human rights, including workers' and trade union rights, advanced working conditions, and the right to collective bargaining. Workers must be protected against a disproportionate and unjustified surveillance. Discrimination-based biased algorithms must be prohibited, and violations of data protection and privacy rights must be prevented. We should strengthen the role of collective agreements and employee participation in design, implementation, and use and monitoring of AI and data strategies. Ladies and gentlemen, we have only begun our work with our proposals in the narrowest sense from the workers' point of view, and we consider the cooperation that we are now establishing with the EuCET, with our excellent European friends, whom I would like to thank for accepting our invitation. And let me, please allow me to conclude with the words of Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. We were given an opportunity. Let's have the intellectual and political courage to accept that times have changed. 30 years ago, we thought Europe was our future. Today, we see that we are the future of Europe. Let us dare to be democrats and freedom fighters in Brussels, because it is only this from which a new European renaissance can be born.